Good day, it's March 4th, 2023. The ever-widening investigation into 2020 effort to overturn the presidential election and January 6 conspiracy that led to the attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump and his followers are closing in Donald Trump's tiny little circle. Special counsel Jack Smith had subpoenaed former Vice President Mike Pence to appear for questioning before a grand jury convened for his purpose by Jack Smith. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban as we continue the top stories of the week.
According to the article in the Wall Street Journal, the former Vice President Mike Pence has been subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury, and evidence that the special counsel's investigation is escalating each day. Multiple media outlets has also reported that Vice President Mike Pence planned to challenge the subpoena in court, claiming executive privilege. But the retired conservative judge who had served in the Court of Appeals, Judge J. Michael Luttig, and whom Mike Pence consulted about Trump's suggestion that Mike Pence override the certification of Biden's election, for which he was advised that such act is illegal, is now warning Pence that defying the subpoena has consequences. Luttig was quoted as saying that such dangerous gambit will result in an embarrassing spectacle, that Mike Pence's argument will fail in court, and that no prosecutor, least of all Jack Smith, will abide by this political gambit for long. Multiple media outlets had cited Pence's argument based on the Constitution's speech or debate clause, same argument that Mark Meadows used, same argument that Senator Lindsey Graham used in attempt to evade testifying in separate grand juries, and had been consistently rejected by different judges and had therefore been compelled to testify. None of the many legal minds believes this reasoning will prevail in court, except the Vice President himself. Others call this a mere delaying tactic that had consistently been employed by Trumpers who had already been compelled by judges to testify, after wasting the time of investigators in court. I guess it's Mike Pence's turn now to dance to the music of the special prosecutor, Jack Smith.
In a widening exposure of consistent lying of the man who never was, Congressman George Santos of Long Island, New York, has now been involved of lying to a Superior Court judge in Seattle, Washington. According to an article in the online magazine Politico, George Santos in 2017 flew to Seattle, Washington to vouch for quote-unquote family friend who later pleaded guilty to a fraud and ATM scheming charges. The supposed friend was from Long Island, New York. That in 2017, he spoke before the bail hearing for supposedly a friend charged in the fraudulent ATM scheming case named Gustavo Ribeiro Trelha. George Santos, whose full name is George Anthony DeVolder Santos, appeared before King County Superior Court Judge Sean O'Donnell to vouch for the family friend to be able to set bail. In an audio recording of the court proceedings, when George Santos was asked by Judge O'Donnell what Santos do for a living, George Santos said, "I am an aspiring politician and I work for Goldman Sachs." The reality is that Congressman George Santos never worked for Goldman Sachs, but claimed that he was employed at Link Bridge Investors, had limited partnership with the bank, meaning no close relationship to Goldman Sachs. When asked by Judge O'Donnell, "You work for Goldman Sachs in New York?" George Santos replied, "Yep." Of course, the bank investigations into George Santos' claims show no record of him being employed or having worked for the bank. Judge continued with the questioning, "How do you know this man?" His answer was, "We are family friends. Our parents know each other from Brazil," replied Santos. Gustavo Trelha, who pleaded guilty to felony access device fraud and served 7 months in jail, was eventually deported to Brazil. In a telephone interview by a political reporter, Trelha said that Santos lied about their relationship too to the judge. Trelha, through a translator, said that they met on Facebook in 2016, a group for Brazilians living in Orlando, Florida. Trelha eventually moved into Santos' Winter Park, Florida apartment in November 2016. So the congressman lied to the judge about working for Goldman Sachs, and lie number 2, that Santos' relationship to the defendant as a family friend.
In the Nevada politics, the Nevada State Democratic Party will be holding an election for the chairman and other officers. The situation is hotly contested. It appears now that the incumbent chairperson, Judith Whitmer, has a challenger. State Assemblywoman from North Las Vegas, District 1, Daniel Monroe Moreno, has coalesced a unity slate to challenge State Chair Judith Whitmer. Representatives from the Democratic National Committee will be in Carson City to monitor the state party Central Committee's leadership election. According to reports in several media outlets, the opposition against the incumbent chair, Judith Whitmer, has something to do with accusations that the sitting state party chair, Judith Whitmer, steered contracts to allies. Although both sides of the aspiring factions each accuse each other of attempting to fracture the party, according to NBC News article. Whitmer, who is a part of the Democratic Socialist faction of the Democratic Party, took over the party in March 2021. According to NBC News, a central part of the drama over Whitmer's tenure has been a decision by a group of previous party leaders a few months after she took over to break off from the control and form a rival Democratic entity in Washoe County, where Reno, Nevada is part of, called Nevada Democratic Victory. We're still early when we tape the show if challenger Daniel Monroe Moreno has prevailed as the state party leader. But stay tuned for updates here at The Pulse. We're going to take a commercial break, so please stay with us.
With the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
Welcome back to The Pulse. The craziness that is commonly displayed by Republican lawmakers in the 118th Congress is endless. From putting in important committees many members of the so-called Attention Caucus, election deniers, and utter disregard of the U.S. Constitution, and to sit in investigation committees. Republican Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, who is now chair of the Republican Freedom Caucus, according to several media outlets, has threatened to eliminate office spaces for government agencies if the Biden administration officials don't comply with oversight demand from House Republicans. While speaking at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Maryland, The Independent, an online magazine of UK, reported Congressman Perry was also saying that the federal government has been weaponized against the conservatives, a frequent talking point of the MAGA Republicans and frequent grievance when they are being targeted for accountability for their actions. He also suggested that federal officials and civil servants responsible for such policies as vaccine mandates should be imprisoned or made to fear for their lives by a firestorm of Republican-led oversight by the House of Representatives. Well, Congressman Perry, many believes what I believe, that I and all my relatives and friends are alive today because of the COVID vaccine and mandates that were put in place during the pandemic. And my question is, why are you fighting a subpoena of the Justice Department of your emails and phone records relating to the investigations of efforts to overturn the 2020 elections? Of course, U.S. District Court Chief Judge Beryl Howell of Washington, D.C. has rejected your claim of immunity under the Constitution's Speech and Debate Clause. These arguments has been used by many of you in the Republican Party to escape accountability. What does make you, if you are not answerable to anyone, a super citizen?
In Chicago, the mayoral election that just happened this week, incumbent Mayor Lori Lightfoot lost her bid for re-election. None of the candidates in the crowded race, mostly Democrats, was able to reach the threshold of 50% to avoid a runoff election. But still, Mayor Lori Lightfoot was not among the top 2 vote-getter. The former head of the Chicago Public Schools, Paul Vallas, and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson are going into the runoff election for mayor of Chicago. Paul Gus Vallas ran under a campaign platform for making Chicago the safest city in America, a fight against criminality, and also touted the support of pro-abortion rights and gay marriage. He also has the support of the police union. Brandon Johnson, a former public school teacher at Jenner Academy located in Chicago's northeast side, trailed Vallas by 70,000 votes. Johnson has the support of the powerful teachers union. Both candidates are members of the Democratic Party.
The Ukraine war, which started in February 26, 2022, in an unprovoked invasion by Russia, has now passed the 1-year anniversary. What happened within the 1-year period of the war? So many important events and tragedy happened on both sides. We can only point out a handful of them. First, the myth about the Russian military as supposed to be a near unbeatable war machine is now exposed. The war in Ukraine exposed the Russian military as being poorly led, hollow and brittle, and largely incapable of engaging in the type of combined arms operations required to quickly overrun the Ukrainian capital and other regions of the country and then hold them. Under the leadership of President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is not a career politician, Ukraine was able to mobilize their entire population to resist the Russian invaders. The Ukrainian military, expertly led and trained to fight like nimble, modern Western army, traded space for time. The Russians quickly lost momentum as Ukrainians counterattacked their flanks from rear and other vulnerable areas. The Russians were forced to pull back and consolidate their forces in order to preserve what remained of their invading army, which now has seen many of its elite and other frontline units decimated. Some estimates from various intelligence agencies worldwide have suggested that Russia sustained at least 100,000 casualties. That includes those who died or injured. Such extreme losses in personnel and material had not been seen in Europe since World War II or perhaps World War I. Second, the world's response to support Ukraine in this unprovoked invasion saw that the US and its allies in NATO and the European Union countries can make Russia suffer quick economic consequences by way of sanctions like the world has never seen before. Even the wealthiest of the wealthy in Russia, believed to be enablers of Vladimir Putin, who runs a dictatorship, has to be swiftly cut off from their vast wealth. And third, the immense sufferings in Ukraine among the civilians targeted by Putin's policy of bombing and leveling Ukraine to the ground is painful to see. 72,000 Russian war crimes already documented by human rights organizations, and the thousands of Russian families who lost their loved ones fighting in the senseless war of President Vladimir Putin is very sad to imagine. The families that are displaced as refugees in Ukraine and the crackdown in Russia of its citizens and mothers who wants to express their disagreement to the invasion where their children and relatives lost their lives. And the breadbasket of Europe, Africa, and the world, from the largest wheat exporter, Ukraine has been disrupted. And the price of bread is felt by every city in the world as the price of flour to make bread has gone up. This is the result when one person's thought of grandeur is overpowering us to disregard the lives of millions. That is Russian President Vladimir Putin. We have a commercial break coming up. Please stay with us. When we come back, we will show you how our state assembly representatives are holding a town hall meeting, but in the form of like teaching the public how legislation is made and how to approach them if you have some idea for a new legislation. Stay with us.
With the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, the magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all. Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Nevada's representatives to the State Assembly is developing more interest in taking care of its Asian, American, and Pacific Islander constituents. They held sort of a town hall meeting at the SEIU Center in Las Vegas, and they called it Lumpia and Legislation. What it is like a town hall meeting, but what happened was it was an interesting tutorial for citizens how to deal with their state representatives in the state legislature. It was attended by many members and leaders of the Asian, American, and Pacific Islander community, including Filipinos. It was an interesting concept. They served lumpia, and during the the light lunch, and they started teaching Filipinos and the AAPI how legislation develops and how to contact your legislature. They were attended by a State Assemblywoman Selena Torres, Reuben De Silva, Erica Mosca, and Assemblyman Gonzalez. And here are some of the videos that Joseph, our field correspondent, took. Take a look.
At some point in the near future, hopefully, schedule it for a work session. There's no guarantee that it gets a work session, but they will hopefully schedule it for a work session. Now, work session is a really fancy way to say the state legislature is going to vote on it. Okay, in the committee. Okay, so your committee is a smaller group of us, depending on the committee, maybe about 10. We're going to vote on that bill. Now, I will tell you, most of the time if we schedule a vote on something, we know how it's going to go and send it to the governor's desk. Now, the governor has a choice. He can sign the bill, and then it passes, obviously. He can not sign the bill, and then it still passes. Or he can veto the bill. Our hope is obviously, so you're on lobby day, and I'm sure that there will be an API lobby day in May. Volunteer to help organize support for a bill. But we hope we get to see you all in Carson City. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'll be here for them.
People that this has stopped them from continuing their education or getting a job. And so I'm working really hard as a freshman legislator to do something pragmatic that, this is all new to me, so hopefully we can get that one done. And we would love any support if you know any young person or that's even happened to you. I want as many, not that you're regular people, right? But you're the most important people, the actual community that impacts to come up and share. So I'm here for you. I appreciate you.
Will be serving on our education committee. So just a little bit about myself. As was mentioned here, I am a Marine Corps veteran and I'm a teacher. All I know is public service. My entire life, my entire professional career has been dedicated towards serving other people. And most of my bills, 5 out of 6, are going to be education related. Yes. So again, that's really my heart and my passion. And I have another bill that's cannabis related. So that's going to be something too that's going to be coming about. It's very the ACLU. Pretty much codifying into a statute the court case that went down this summer. Okay, this is removing the ability for the pharmacy board to regulate cannabis as a product, as a consumer product, and let that be regulated then by the cannabis regulatory agencies. That's where it should be. You don't need to have multiple layers of regulation. I think it's going to be good for the economy. It's going to be good for our free market sort of system. And it'll also be great for the criminal justice reform movement, because now you don't have multiple agencies that are dealing with a substance that, of course, has had a problematic history. Let it be regulated like alcohol. That's been my case. So this is a bill that we are going to be that's already been introduced. It's in the BR fashion format, and it is a bit complex. And I'm hoping to get your support on it, because we are going to have a court case that's taking place.
What impresses me is the amount of time and effort that was put into this by our own legislative representatives. It was actually a true civic engagement from our representatives in Carson City and into the community. And I can only wish that they do this more and more, and that more community members also get engaged with their elected leaders and representatives. So please get involved. This is something that is good for the community, good for Nevada.
We're at the end of our show. Please join us again on our next episode. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould.
And I'm Sam Buban, and I wish you all a blessed week, and thank you for watching.